Patch 26.2.2 just came out, so you can go and play it right now. Let's discuss the Battlegrounds updates. Panda, ETC and patches are all losing armor, but ETC is getting a buffed hero power in exchange. The old hero power used to cost 4 gold, and now only costs 3 gold. This is a crazy, insane change, and it's gonna make it one of the best heroes in the game, in my opinion. On to the minion updates. Upbeat Front Rake from a 2-1 to a 1-1. This card used to be crazy if you could buy it on turn 1 or 2. Now with this change and with the next change coming up, we're gonna see it way less. Low Flyer used to give +2 attack to your minions with less attack than this at the end of each turn. Now it's only gonna give +1 attack. In its current form, the card is probably unplayable in my opinion. I feel like they should have also made it a 3-3 in order for this to be playable. Reefer. Old 1-3, new 1-2, so it only lost 1 health. The card used to be really good and it's still really good, you're gonna see it a lot. Molten Rock finally getting buffed. It gets +1 attack, it is now a 3-4. That's a pretty good buff, because 2 attack doesn't really accomplish anything, and with Party Elemental and Arm of the Empire being removed from the pool, there aren't many options when it comes to buffing attack on your Molten Rock. It's a very welcome change. Flourishing Frostling from a 0-4 to a 0-5. Now this card can actually be played if you get like a Elemental start or if you get a pair of them in the shop. A good quality of life change. Before, even if you could give it some attack, the 4 health was just too bad. Scarfin getting nerfed. It goes from a 6-3 to a 3-3. So basically the main difference is that if you power level to tier 3 and you buy this card early on, you're more likely to lose fights and take more damage. But other than that, the card still functions in the same exact way. Radio Star is going from a 3-1 to a 2-1. Once again, not that big of a change. Puffer Quill moving from Tavern tier 4 to Tavern tier 3. At the moment, this card is pretty much worthless. You almost never see it on anyone's board and you almost never buy it. Maybe it's gonna be more viable once Quillboars come out. Banana Slama, the most controversial card of the patch so far. It's going from tier 3 to tier 4. And that's kind of a laughable change. At least I'm happy that they're doing something, but this card is probably still gonna be just as obnoxious as it used to be, unfortunately. I'm not too optimistic about this change. Upbeat Duo, another meta-defining card. It used to be a 4-2 battle cry, choose a minion. At the end of every 2 turns, this gives you a plain copy. It is now a 4-4, so bigger stats. At the end of every 2 turns, get a plain copy of the minion to the left of this. So first things first, it is no longer a battle cry, which means that it no longer has synergy with Bran, Jendis hero power, Shadowwalk hero power, Young Murkai, and Caligos. So that's already a pretty big improvement. Second thing to note, the golden version now at the end of every 2 turns gives you a play copy of each adjacent minion. Before, when it was a battle cry, if you will triple it, assuming you played all the copies while you were tripling it, you will get minimum 4 cards at the end of each turn. That being if you didn't combo it with Bran or any other synergy. Now you can get maximum 2 cards at the end of each turn, which is already a huge nerf for the golden version, meaning that the high roll potential for this card is way lower, which is really nice. Before, if you could make a golden Upbeat Duo, you probably just won the game on the spot. With this rework, the synergy with Dracarian Chanters becomes more important. Dracarian Chanter is a new card, it's a tier 5, 1-5, your end of turn effects trigger twice. So that card may see more plays. Also, there is a nice quality of life improvement, which is that you can just level to tier 4, find Upbeat Duo, and just buy it, even if you don't have anything good to copy, and maybe the next turn you're gonna find, you know, a triple or just a good minion, and your Upbeat Duo is just gonna be ready to copy that, which is really nice. So all in all, the high roll potential of the card has been nerfed, the floor has also been raised, and the stats have been increased. I expect it to still see a lot of plays, and we will have to play with it and see if it's still outrageous, or if it's gonna be in a more reasonable spot after the change. But overall, I feel pretty positive about this change. Reanimating Rattler. It used to be a 5-3 battlecry give a friendly beast reborn. It is now a 4-3 At the end of your turn, give another friendly beast reborn. Since it procs at the end of the turn, the reborn is gonna be permanent. So they changed this effect, which used to be a battle cry, because of a new tier 3 minion called Rylek, which has a death rattle to proc your battle cries. And now that Mako is coming back into the game, in combo with Rattler and Rylek, you could easily make infinite combos to gain infinite reborn on your Rylek. And basically your opponent could never kill it unless if they have a Wind Fury or a Cleave effect that's bigger than your beast. So in order to prevent that infinite interaction, they got rid of the battle cry and they reworked the card. Although now you just need to find one copy of the Rattler, and over multiple turns you can simply just reborn your whole board, which in a vacuum it's a pretty big buff. At the same time though, the reborn is gonna be random, so if you get this card really late into the game and you have a lot of beasts on your board, it's gonna take a while to get the reborn that you want. It is a buff if you get the card early on, and at the same time it could be a nerf if you get the card really late, when maybe you can't afford to have a 4-3 on your board just to get an extra random reborn. But overall, the card seems stronger than it used to be. So this is, in my opinion, a beast buff. Peggy is going from a 6-5 to a 4-2. If you already have a pirate on your board and you find an early Peggy, it's still gonna be an amazing card. Dancing Barnstormer. It used to be a 4-2 Death Rattle. Elementals in Bob's Tavern have +2/+2 for the rest of the game. It is now a 3-2 Death Rattle. Elementals in Bob's Tavern have +3/+2 for the rest of the game. He is a little bit smaller on his own. It's not that big of a deal, but he's buffing +3/+2. That is a really good change. It's gonna make this card way more viable, and with the addition of Mako inside the pool, I feel like this card has a lot of potential to help you set up a pivot for an Omi comp later on. Or to just play elementals. For example, if you can get like a couple of these with a Mako, and then eventually triple it, like that could be enough scaling. Electric Synthetizer. Going from Tavern Tier 5, buffing your dragons with +4 attack, down to Tavern Tier 4, and only buffing +3 attack. This is a really big buff to dragons, which is pretty cool. I like this card on Tier 4. It's gonna make Ysera a little bit better as well. Although General Drakisat is moving from Tier 4 up to Tier 5. Right now, Drakisat is one of the best cards in the metagame, because it has a lot of synergies with multiple new cards that can allow you to proc its battlecry many times, and basically get enough Smolder Wings to make triples out of them, find 6 drops, find Caligos, and then pivot into dragons from there. So it makes sense to move this card to Tier 5 to slow down the dragon synergies. Underended Dealer, going from Tavern Tier 4 up to Tavern Tier 5. And it also gets a +2/+2 stat boost. This change makes sense. The card is very similar to Magmalok, and it was a little bit too strong on Tier 4. So seeing it move up to Tier 5 makes a lot of sense. Mama Bear used to be a 5-5, whenever you summon a beast, give it +5/+5. It is now a 4-4, whenever you summon a beast, give it +4/+4. Unfortunately, Mama Bear is paying for the banana scenes. This card is getting nerfed because Banana Slama is too strong. We have had Mama Bear in the game with these stats and this effect, and it was really bad. And back then, the game was way slower than it is right now. This new version of Mama Bear is basically gonna be unplayable unless if you have Banana Slama on your board, which makes me pretty sad. Record Smuggler, going from a 7-6 to a 5-4. It's losing 2-2 in stats. That's a huge nerf. I feel like at high level this card was already marginal, but maybe it was too strong at lower levels and that's why it's getting nerfed. Because the effect is really strong, even though the card is pretty small, so if you play it later on you might just lose the fight and die. It's still gonna be pretty good though if you get it early with a bunch of pirates on your board. Ghastly Trumpeteer. The old version, after you sell 6 elementals, get another random elemental. Now, after you sell 5 elementals, get another random elemental. This may not seem like a big deal, but it is a pretty huge deal. Because basically, the requirement to get the first proc is 5, but after the first proc, then the requirement basically becomes after you sell 4 elementals, because you are just getting 1 for free every time. So this is gonna make this card a lot more viable. Right now the card was virtually unplayable. In this new form, I think that if you have some other synergies to go with it, you should be able to make this card work. Caligos is getting nerfed from a 412 to a 210, so it's losing 2-2 in stats. This nerf is honestly kinda laughable, but a lot of other cards around the comp have been nerfed, like Drakisath and Upbeat Duo, so we'll have to see where dragons are gonna end up after this balance patch. Nadina is also finally getting changed, going from a 7-4 Death Rattle give your dragons Divine Shield to an 8-4, so +1 attack, Death Rattle give 3 friendly dragons Divine Shield. So instead of shielding your whole board, you now only shield 3 minions. Although, the golden version now has a Death Rattle to give 6 friendly dragons Divine Shields. So finally, tripling Nadina is no longer gonna be a meme. Rock getting changed as well. The old version used to be after you play an elemental, give your minions +1 attack. Swap next turn. So the next turn will give +1 health. The new version is after you play an elemental, give your other minions +2 attack, and then it swaps. So it's basically twice as good as it used to be before, but as a trade-off, it doesn't buff itself anymore. This is a pretty massive buff, and I think it should bring this card up to a playable state. Because in its old form, the card was basically way too slow and kind of unplayable compared to everything else. Zap is also getting buffed. It's going from a 7-10 up to an 8-16. So now, even if your opponent plays an Uther on their Tidus or whatever, if that's the smallest minion on their board, this can still kill it, because it deals 8, survives at 1 HP, and then deals 8 again. Hooray! But honestly, since nowadays with blood gems and whatnot, we have so many new ways to buff neutral minions, I feel like this is a very welcome change. The golden version still doesn't have Mega Wind Fury though. And last but not least, minion pool changes, which I teased a little bit. Monstrous Mako has been returned to the minion pool, and Cinderace Straight Shot is now available in all lobbies, not just undead lobbies. Yes, in case you were wondering why you could never find the Straight Shot to silence your opponent's beast, it's because before she was only in the pool when undeads were also in the pool. They made this change because when Cinderace came out, it was actually mainly only useful against undeads. But nowadays things have changed, there is much more access to Reborn in the game, with Mantid Queen getting changed as well. So it makes a lot of sense to bring it back to the pool, no matter what. It's gonna be really nice to try and counter taunted Blanches when your opponent is playing the banana comp. That's it for the Battlegrounds changes. As always, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, let me know down in the comments below what you think about the patch, what video you wanna see next, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!